rest of the mansion served as a combination tourist attraction and museum. Thousands of visitors streamed through our front doors every day, eager to stroll the home's opulence and marvel at Bennett's eclectic collection of antiques.
"There's no one special in your life right now?"
I nudged his arm. "You'd know if there were." He winked at me.
"Can't blame an old man for asking. Just envisioning the future. It's been a long time since this house had children running around in it. I should know. I was one of them."
"You are not old," I reminded him. "I'll thank you to stop saying that." I had no idea where we were headed for today's lesson, but as Bennett held open a stairway door, he said,
"I do feel younger these days, more vital than I have a right to, considering."
"I'm glad to hear it."
"You take your time, Gracie. Find the right fellow, and I'll wait patiently for youngsters to spoil."
"Marriage and kids are not even on my radar at this point," I said. "We have a lot more to worry about than my love life."
"We do, but you and I are up to the challenge. Don't you agree?"
"We are, but—" I let my thought trail off. Years ago, convinced that he was the sole surviving member of the Marshfield family, Bennett had bequeathed that upon his death, ownership of the estate would transfer to the village of Emberstown. Once we discovered that Marshfield blood ran through my veins, however, he'd completely revised his will. The details were numerous, but it boiled down to this. Upon Bennett's death, I would become the sole owner of Marshfield Manor and would maintain control of the estate for my entire lifetime. If I had children, I could, but would not be required to, grant them control of the estate upon my death. No matter who sat at the family helm, whether now or 100 years hence. If the Marshfield bloodline died out, the estate was to be turned over to the village and preserved as an historic site. This change had resulted in a couple of immediate consequences. Not only had Bennett turned me into a very wealthy young woman, I'd become a mini-celebrity in our small town. I'd also drawn the ire of Emberstown officials who watched as their expected windfall dissolved before their eyes. That they now needed to wait for my demise, or heaven help them, that of my descendants, was too much for some of the town elders to bear. Emberstown lawyers had argued against Bennett's decision, citing the city's expectation of inheritance, but the courts had swiftly dismissed such suits as without merit. I'd balked at the change myself, but as I came to understand my uncle's motivations, I'd relented. Bennett wanted family to control his fortune until there was no family left. Being able to provide for me and my future children gave him enormous pleasure. I'd come to realize I couldn't deny him that. Still, I had one major reservation, and it involved my sister. "What about Liza?" I finally said. "No matter how many assurances you offer, I'm terrified of the day she finds out." Bennett and I had discussed the Liza situation, as we'd taken to calling it, at length. Even though his lawyers had taken every possible precaution when drafting the updated will, going so far as to bequeath her a small annual stipend, there was no telling what schemes she'd dream up to increase her share once she discovered the truth. Bennett led me out of the stairway at the second floor. Again, he held the door open.
"Our attorneys and advisers will help us break the news to her when the time comes. Have you heard from your sister lately?"
"Not since the sentencing." Liza's role in a major antiquity theft should have landed her in prison for more than 10 years, but because she'd cooperated with authorities and had no prior convictions, she'd been given a mere 2-year sentence with the potential for early release if she behaved herself. I shrugged as though I'd gotten past my sister's betrayals. "She blames me, of course."
"We know better."
This time of the morning, the glorious mansion was quiet and still, as though the grande dame was breathlessly awaiting her first guests of the day. Barring the handful of security guards completing pre-opening inspections.